Hi, FCST 1010 students. This is Dr. Wheeler. We're moving into Module 7, and we only have 10 modules, so we are really moving along. A short sports recap. Another great sports weekend for me. Sorry, Tennessee. I am so sorry. I won't even say it was a great comeback by the Gators because there was nothing great about the way the Gators played, but they did win it late in the game if you weren't watching. Um, Jordan Spieth just won the FedEx Cup. He got Player of the Year. He won the Varden Trophy. He got everything. And then I just watched the Falcons with the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, man, it was iffy in the beginning. And I know one of your classmates, Leonard Hall, was at that game. It must have been incredible. So, Leonard, man, I bet it was exciting for you to be there because it was great to watch on television. We're going to move right along to module number 7. I read everything that you guys said last week about your test taking strategies and what you do in order to prepare for a test. It was, just like I get with every semester. Each of you, you prepare in a certain way. Some of you procrastinate. Some of you cram at the last minute. Some of you study a lot leading up to it. And the thing that I always hear over and over again, whether it's a face-to-face FCST class or an online FCST class, how'd you feel the last time you took a test? And the people that say they were nervous, I'll always say, well, what could you have done not to be nervous? Well, I could have prepared more. I had one of my students in class last week. She said, I passed it, but I could have done better. And I said, in what way could you have done better? She said, I could have prepared more. I didn't really prepare a lot. Preparing is reading not only the notes that you take in class, but any reading assignments that your professor gives you. This week we're going to go a little bit over everything: information literacy and critical reading. Day 1, this will start tonight and go through Wednesday. You're going to kind of read about plagiarism. Why is plagiarism important? Because this is information literacy and critical reading. This is also about researching things, not cutting and pasting into a Word document and calling that research. That is using somebody's research and you writing your interpretation of the research and citing the research. Under step 2, under these videos and reading, you'll learn all about plagiarism. If you turn papers in many of the classes at Georgia Highlands, you might turn it in Turn It In. That's the name of the program, and that program recognizes if it's located somewhere else on the internet, it will be able to tell if you plagiarized or not. And it was funny, when I wrote my dissertation, it came up like 30% plagiarized, and I said, what? And it was saying that I plagiarized myself, because we had to turn it in certain steps. So, but a lot of instances you do have to turn it in and turn it in. But watch these videos over plagiarism, and then what I want you to do under your journal this week, because we're going to move from plagiarism right into reading. And I want to find out how you feel about reading. I teach English and reading. And when I pull up a passage on the board, the one thing that my students always say, I'll say, how do you feel emotionally when you see this? And they always say, ugh, they don't want to read it. They feel overwhelmed before they start. I'm fixing to show you a method that may help with that. But what I want you to answer in journal entry 7 is, how do you feel when you read large amounts of information? What emotion do you feel? Are you frustrated? Are you overwhelmed? What strategy do you use? Are you like a lot of people that you read it over and over again thinking that you're going to read it so many times that it's going to stick? Do you forget it soon after you've read it, like myself? If guys, even if I read a book for pleasure, I would have to write down a little synopsis of every chapter so that when I moved on to the next one, I wouldn't forget what I read in the first one. We forget a lot of what we read. We forget a lot of what we hear unless we write it down. What could you do to be a more critical reader? In other words, what could you do if you had to read large amounts of information and you feel frustrated and overwhelmed and you have trouble comprehending it? What could you do to be a more critical reader? Remember to respond to 2 students before Wednesday and create your initial thread. So we're going to start from plagiarism and how do you feel when you read. You can watch this never-ending story trailer. I want to change this video. For some reason, every semester when I see it, I think I could come up with something more effective. But it has to do with critical reading. But I want you to go down to day 2, step 2, the SQ3R method. I use this in my English reading class. The S stands for survey, the Q stands for question, and the 3R stands for read, recite, review. If your professor asks you to read 3 chapters, you can't just skim over it, because one thing you need to realize when you take a test, and this might alleviate a lot of your frustration in test-taking strategies. If your professor told you to read 3 chapters, for the week, and then you took notes in class, and then you got on the test and you said you literally didn't go over any of that in class. No, they probably didn't. That's why they gave you the 3 chapters to read, because we only meet, for 2 hours and 30 minutes a week in a regular class, and it's hard to go over everything, so you do get a lot of reading assignments. And in order to effectively read it without forgetting everything, first you survey the chapter. And you write down, when it says survey, you skim through it. The Q stands for question. So you're going to make a question out of everything. You're going to make a question out of the headers, out of words that are in bold, words that are italicized. And if it's over cardiovascular arrhythmias, then, maybe each subheading is supraventricular tachycardia, or bradycardia, or tachycardia. And I don't know if asystole would be considered an arrhythmia because it's flatline. But anyway, you would make a question out of it. What is bradycardia? And maybe you want to know, you're asking yourself questions. Well, I don't really know much about it, so what are the signs and symptoms? What causes it? How do you treat it? Make up questions based on what you want to know about it. If it's history and if it's about the Cold War, maybe you want to make up questions like, okay, who was the Cold War between? What year did it start? When did it end? What caused it? And what ended it? So make up questions based on what you read. Then the next part is read. The 3 R's are read, recite, review. Then you're going to actually start reading the chapter and answering the questions. Then you're going to review what you wrote, the questions that you answered, what you read, and then when it says read, recite, review, you're going to go back over it, make flashcards of it, make a summary of it. Watch this video though, it's very good. Critical reading sources, why knowing how to read is critical. If you didn't know how to read, you wouldn't be in college. But when I say how to read, a lot of students waste their time, or they become overwhelmed when you say, okay, read 4 chapters. They become overwhelmed and they give up before they start. Remember the SQ3R method. That is the best way to take it. You can't eat an elephant all at once. You have to take it one bite at a time. So when you get to that first chapter that you've got to read, survey it, make questions, read it, answer the questions, review it. And this is a critical reading infographic. Now, to sum all this up, We got to stick research in there somewhere, and you got to know how to research, how to find research. Wikipedia is not research. Go to the 21st Century Researcher Skill Shop. This is what your challenge is going to be over this week. Start up at the top of this page with the purpose of it, the goals, read the goals and objectives, work your way down the page, take this short quiz over research skills. Then you're going to watch this video right here. It says, if you can't see the video below, visit. You are going to cut and paste this web address into a new tab, and you're going to watch the video right here. Evaluating resources, again, watch the Prezi. If you can't see the embedded guide below, visit. You are going to cut and paste this address and put it in a new tab. And I'm wondering, it looked like it was starting to do that. Now, underneath here, based on what you just learned above, compare these two websites. A lot of people just look at them from right here and say, I'd choose the one on the left. I want you to pull it up. And it pulls it up in its own tab. And I want you to look at this one first. And then I want you to go back and I want you to pull this one up. And I want you to read this one. Go back to the 21st Century Researcher. Go down here to Getting Help. And you can click on this right here. And I want you to chat with a librarian. And it's going to be over here. Actually, the chat is offline right now. It'll be back up tomorrow. Chat over here and ask them a question. Ask them about a book. Just say, I'm testing out the chat. Hello, and see how you feel about that. And maybe you can, you might be able to chat right here. Then I want you to go down to Exploring Web 2.0 Tools. You're going to click on the tool right here. And it's going to pull this up. And you need to watch this. Just click on the arrow. Then you're going to come back, and the very last thing that you're going to do is answer these questions. This is actually your challenge. How do you feel about assessing your research skills quiz results? I don't want you to just put good. I want you to include the question. And I want you to write, at least a half a paragraph to a paragraph related to all 5 of these. Put it in MLA style in a Word document. Upload it to Challenge 7. But these questions right here are what you're going to answer for this skill shop. I need you to answer all 5 of them in order for you to get full credit. And this will be due next Sunday, October the 4th, before midnight. Your journal entry, let me go back to the LibGuide. Your journal entry 7 is due Wednesday, September the 30th, with 2 student responses by Wednesday, September the 30th. And then your challenge is due by Sunday, October the 4th. And remember to answer all of those questions at the bottom of the page for that. Email me if you have any questions. Y'all have a great week. Great job on the journal entries last week, by the way. As of this moment at 6:32 on Sunday evening, I only have 3 people that had submitted their challenges. So I haven't got a chance to look at your challenges from last week. But I will comment about those next week. But email me if you have questions at kwheeler@highlands.edu, and y'all have a wonderful week.